So today I was on Jimmy at the Crossroads, which is a new show being put out by Washington Examiner and good friend Jimmy Sengenberger. If you haven't already checked it out, you should definitely go check it out. I was on today talking about gun control in response to the Chinese coronavirus. And something happened during the interview that I hoped would never happen. My toddler son got loose from my wife, who was watching him, and decided to run through the hallways and interrupt the interview. So I haven't rewatched this yet. I just know it happened right around at this point. So I want to watch it, react to it, and this was something I hoped would never happen. But if it's going to happen, I guess it's a good thing to happen on Jimmy's show.
Max McGuire, what do you make of that report from Fox News' William Lajeunesse? I mean, one striking thing to me are the lines there and the diversity, by the way, of all the people trying to get firearms to protect themselves as is constitutionally provided.
I'm going to turn up the audio to make sure we can hear it.
It's interesting. A lot of the people who are waiting in lines are first-time gun buyers. People like me, we have everything that we would need in this scenario. We're not running to the store to try and buy an extra box of ammunition here or there. The challenge is the people who have never owned a gun before. They see what's going on around them. They're afraid. They're legitimately afraid that they might need to have the ability to defend themselves and their families. During the LA riots, there were these really iconic photographs taken on the roofs of Korean businesses. They become a meme nowadays. They're called roof Koreans. And what they did during the LA riots is they brought their guns up to the roofs and they just basically guarded their stores, their storefronts. And those were the areas of the city that were not looted. So it's not surprising to see the Asian community, especially in California, going out and trying to get guns, because we've seen throughout even just recent history how important it is to have a firearm at your disposal when things go down. So it's really sad to see this, but frankly, all these people should have cared about the Second Amendment when these laws were being enacted. In California, as the clip says, there's a 10-day waiting period. So when they closed down gun stores in places like San Jose earlier this week, anyone who had bought a gun in the last 10 days couldn't pick it up because they were still waiting for the waiting period to go through. So it's really sad. And what I would tell everyone is that, if you care about the Second Amendment now, this crisis will pass eventually. We'll get past this. We'll be able to kickstart the economy again. But don't forget about this when we get to that point. Keep fighting for these rights, because you've seen how governments, how state and local governments will abuse your rights in a time of crisis when you desperately feel like you need them. Don't let them get away with this once this crisis passes.
Hey, Max, just as a quick aside, was that Max Jr. I was hearing? This is interviews in the era of COVID.
It was. My wife was laid off yesterday, so she's supposed to be my babysitter. So she's obviously failing in that regard. I might lay her off too.
So this is I really hope that this would never happen. I've taken really good steps, and it hasn't happened. I've done a lot of interviews over the last couple of years, and I've never had a baby try. I never had my son interrupt it. So what was happening was I was in one room, and he was supposed to be downstairs with my wife, and she was cooking spaghetti, and he got loose. She lost track of him. He crawled up the stairs, ran down the hallway, and was checking every bedroom to find out where I was, because he knew I was upstairs somewhere. So we can hear in the beginning he's banging on a door down the hall, and then he gets closer, banging at one of the spare bedrooms, and then he's finally banging at the door on my office, yelling Max, which is what he sometimes calls me, which is a problem on its own. But I really hope this would never happen, and I hope it never happens again. But Jimmy was a good sport about it, and that's all you can really ask for.